It's not just the Chiefs leaving. It is every fucking concert that goes there. It's every event that goes there. Every marathon that happens there.
Yeah. Okay. DNA collection.
And there's some real family secrets that get revealed on these old 23andMe reports.
Yeah. This one has a lot of hair. This one has a normal amount of hair. It's Pat and Alex. This one was born in Raytown. This one lives in Raytown. They opened a store in the pandemic, and this is a show about it. Hustle and bustle, hustle and bustle, hustle and bustle. Here is the show.
Should we start officially?
Yeah.
Hello and welcome back to Hustle and Bustle is the name of the show. I'm Pat.
I'm Alex.
What an intro. We are real pros.
Yeah.
What a great show we have lined up for you today. First, let's talk a little bit of announcements. All right, we've got a new marquee game we're playing.
Yeah.
We have a giant marquee on the side of the building. We were very excited to get that thing up. And, we probably underutilized it.
Oh, entirely.
So now we're going to try to utilize it.
Yeah, so this Hangman style-esque game we've come up with is every Wednesday we're going to insert some blanks that spell out a phrase, and then we'll give out a hint in regards to what the phrase could be. And if you guess the phrase right on that first day, you come in and tell us what it is, you'll get $25 off in store. Or if you're the first one to DM us what the phrase is, then we'll give you $25 off if you want to purchase something via our Instagram store or online.
We'll just give you a gift card, $25 gift card if you get it on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Then $5 off of the gift card each day thereafter, because we'll release a letter each day.
Yeah, and then each day on our story we'll release a letter and put it on the marquee, like Hangman. And I don't know how we'll do that yet. I want to make a spinner wheel, but that seems like a lot of effort. So we'll
for now we'll just randomly pick letters.
Yeah, and we'll just redo it every week.
Yeah,
it's pretty simple.
Yeah, so you can follow along either by driving by here at 6317 Raytown Road, right in the heart of downtown Raytown, and looking, or by paying attention to our social media.
Yeah, stories are probably where we'll update the daily Hangman. We got to come up with a name for it. Marquee Man.
Hangman seems weird.
Yeah, I just keep picturing someone on the news.
The Virgin Suicides, 6 sisters in a house. Remember that movie?
No, but I know what you're referring to.
Yeah, sad and depressing. Sad and depressing. I think it'll be fun, Games are fun.
Yeah.
Me and Jen were doing this. I don't remember where we were, but we ended up being stuck somewhere, and we just started playing tic-tac-toe and Hangman, and really helps pass the time.
Yes.
So we're just going to help your life pass the time by giving you some Hangman as you drive by. Around the water cooler, there's a lot going on around the water cooler these days. You want to talk about 23andMe?
Dude, okay, yeah. Okay, DNA collection. So for 2 reasons I want to talk about it. Number one, I was listening.
Have you ever been tempted to do it?
I've been tempted to, but I genuinely, I don't think I care that much.
Yeah.
Like, I know we're just like Polish and Irish, and that's...
You're just happy with that.
Yeah, who cares if I'm connected to anybody in history?
All right, so I have a family member who was, when they said they were going to do it, like, their mother was like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And there's some real family secrets that get revealed on these old 23andMe reports.
Yes. I won't use names, but it's a funny story. We had a friend who we had just assumed was Mexican nationality.
Oh, yes, we do have a friend.
Yeah.
Yes.
And...
like part of his identity.
Yeah, like his middle name was sounded like very Latin.
Yeah.
Anyway, took the 23andMe, and turns out... no Latin heritage at all. 0%.
Yeah, so all those stories are now...
which were fed from his parents or his mom. So
right,
it's like,
for sure.
It was catastrophic. Funny if you have a dark sense of humor. But anyway.
I wonder what % of people found, registered a significant familial surprise. Like, is it 10% of people? Like, a parent or grandparent wasn't who they thought it was?
Probably pretty high, because I have a feeling that's probably a motivation to do the test in the first place for a lot of people.
Apparently there's a lot of medical benefit to it too, like you can find if you find out a lot of.
Okay,
right,
so good leeway.
Yes.
So I was listening to Marketplace, Kai Adams, I can't remember his name, and he was discussing how insurance companies are already looking into how to use this type of genetic information.
Yikes.
And
if you thought you were tough to insure before, you might be really tough to
He was combining it with recent updates in CRISPR and them using AI to quickly read DNA and sequence it and shit. He's like, yeah, you could now soon, like when you fill out the little questionnaire, like your health, and they take the little test and you go to the doctor, they could just like know exactly what's going to be wrong with you, and like, well, you're going to have, there's a 50% chance you'll have cancer in 10 years, so your what do you call it, your premium,
then they'll just write you a policy for everything, and then they'll have like a cancer exclusionary clause that you didn't know about, kind of like your house. You're like, oh yeah, I got this insurance, everything's covered, until an actual fucking tornado comes, and you're like, oh no, you didn't see everything but a tornado's covered because you live in Tornado Alley.
Yeah, it's that's scary, because that will totally be used against us for sure. There's already companies using our.
So how do you feel about it? Let's talk about it, because OpenAI is like, it's now more has come out that like it is. It seemed like it was a for-profit versus non-profit motive battle, and that was won by capital. Now Microsoft has a board seat on OpenAI, and they run OpenAI.
But non-voting,
but
they just sit there.
Right. I think Scott Galloway said it great. It was like something like Sam Altman is the tail that wags the dog, but he's sitting on the CEO of Microsoft's lap. So it doesn't. Sure. I mean, basically, if you look at corporate history, they figure out how to use dopamine against us, right? Like, we as Americans are. It's still controversial to say that, like, I was addicted to sugar for over 20 years, and I got to be over 500 pounds. I had no fucking clue that I was an actual chemical addict, and there were things going on and firing in my body the same way that someone shooting up heroin or, drinking too much beer does, right?
Yeah.
And that was going on in my body for 25 years. And still, it doesn't register with generations of people. And I would say most people would be like, you were just fat. You just couldn't stop eating. People like at the top of Nabisco and fucking Nestle and Pillsbury and all these giant media or these giant food conglomerates figured out how dopamine worked, and they have used it against us for generations, which is why we're fatter.
Yeah.
Not like willpower changed or, we watched Roseanne and she made us feel better, and fat, like body acceptance is the reason. It's because there is a corporate motive to make us shove us full of fucking shit that we want to eat and do over and over again. So like, we as Americans and as human beings know an nth of what corporate America has known about dopamine and how it works for decades, and they have used it against us as a profit motive. The same fucking thing's going to happen in AI and in every other thing possible.
Yes.
Same thing with social media. It's been used to hurt us, right? So, and not necessarily to help us, because the incentives are there around shit that attracts us, and that's usually enraging us and dividing us, and not around like making us hug and want to go like spend time in the park.
Yeah,
because that's off of Facebook.
The majority of, I would say, the consumer's experience with AI so far is like going on to an LLM or a picture or something, typing in a prompt, and like playing around with it. At the same time, they're using it to sequence, unfold, and analyze DNA. Like, there's already groups of people who know 100 times more about this technology than like any average user will in their entire lifetime.
Yeah.
And it's like it's
so like, we're just like, ooh, AI's fun, and they're like, ooh, AI is going to be profitable, and they can already see into this like dystopian future. Here's like a quick example. All right, I don't know why I'm obsessed with self-checkout lines, but I am fucking obsessed with self-checkout lines. Mm-hmm. And there's a new level of insanity, and you go to Hy-Vee now, and I don't know if it's at all Hy-Vees. You're doing your self-checkout, and now there's a fucking AI robot that's watching you.
Oh, yeah.
And if it thinks you snuck something, it stops the transaction, and the Hy-Vee person has to come over. Happened to us 4 times. Me and Jen are fucking checking out groceries. 4 times in one transaction, this did. They assumed we were doing something. He's like, oh, sorry, sometimes it thinks that you're a little more shady, or he's like making jokes about how the robot thinks we're fucking stealing. This is the future of where we're going. So like, they're used like self-checkout. Oh, the benefit is I can get out faster. That's the upside. The downside is like, once you become completely dependent on it, like they can just fucking random shit like this.
And I'll put on my, extremely progressive hat. The people who are programming these like AR facial recognition softwares are white men. And like there's all these studies that have been done that statistically they're way worse at identifying people with darker skin colors than people who are white. And so like now if we have just AI facial recognition cameras out here deciding who's stealing or not, and it's up to like just some algorithm that no human gets to decide, like, hold on a second.
Yeah. It's outrageous.
There's a lawsuit coming for sure.
Yeah, it's bananas. But yeah, 23andMe, I don't even know beside me. So I guess I'm grateful that my shit isn't in those databases. But
because the second part of this is they just had their biggest data breach hack. 6.3 million users, their information gone. What did they take? You know,
and what are they going to do with it? I don't know. That's Jen's question.
Knows.
Is like, what are they going to do with it? Like, what's the worst that could happen? I'm like, and this is usually about Alexa, is how we fight. And I'm like, just because I can't explain to you how this is going to hurt you, doesn't mean that it isn't.
Yeah, it's what the people who stole it. They're just going to put it up for sale, and whoever wants to buy it in the dark web, that's what they'll do with it. You know, whatever that means to you, whoever has nefarious, desires out there, that's what they'll. I don't know. It's scary. It's weird.
Yeah, it's
interesting.
It's super scary and weird. There is another Kansas City in the Squid Games. We got super excited that, or I got super excited that Stephen Lomas, the rugby guy, and Chase Higgins were in the game, and so I watched it. And then they got eliminated, and I haven't come back yet. I just haven't made my way back. But there's another Kansas City, and that's still in it. That's like in the hunt for $4+ million, huh?
Yeah, I haven't stayed up to date. Is it still going on?
I think so. They released all the episodes. The last episode of the first batch of releases was when Steven got eliminated, and then the next one was like probably already happened. I just haven't circled back to watch the second. So it may be over at this point.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, it was some 17-year-old. I guess maybe he's got to be 18. Purna Biswa. He was he grew up in a refugee camp in Nepal and was relocated to Kansas City, I think him and his family. And he saw an ad for it on Instagram and just filled out the application, and he got selected.
Nice.
Which is where I learned that he disclosed that there were only like 100,000 applicants.
Yeah.
And there were 456 people chosen for the show. That's 0.5%. That's 1 in 200.
Yeah.
What are the odds? We did some.
I didn't believe the math at first. I actually had to go walk. You had to walk me through it.
It took us a while. Yeah,
because I'm bad at math.
But dude, that just seems
dude,
way more.
We could have been on a reality show by now if that was our life's ambition.
You get a group of like 20 friends together, and that's the odds that somebody in that 20 makes it.
Yeah,
that's pretty high.
So, well, I was watching after these guys are on Netflix. I go back and I watch all of our footage from Midnight Madness because we released a reel. Yeah. Obviously, we have this reality star at our Midnight Madness tournament. We'd be idiots not to tell people about it. So I start to look back through it. I'm like, holy shit! Our cameras, the people that were behind them with the mics, really gravitated towards him and his buddies because they're pretty reality star-y type people.
Yeah, they know how to entertain.
Like Keenan Kaler, how a reality star producer hasn't found him yet is beyond me. All right, but let me ask you this. So, Ryan, our good buddy and one of the owners here at Gnarly Hustle, have you watched any Squid Game? So you obviously haven't watched the challenge. Did you watch the original show?
I think I watched the first episode.
So you understand the concept probably better than I do. I guess it's like some dystopian thing where these people are in massive amounts of debt, and they give them a way to get out of the debt, so they get into this game, and they didn't know that they could get killed in the game. And then they get into the game playing red light, green light, and now they realize everyone could die, and they all try to leave, and you're dying. So basically it's just like exploiting desperately poor people. Yeah. And I had never watched Squid Game, so I knew that you died, but I didn't know it was like the exploitation of poor people was like Hunger Games-esque. I didn't know it had that kind of through line.
Yeah.
So I just watched the challenge, and I used to watch MTV Real World Road Rules The Challenge, which is now just The Challenge. I used to watch it for decades until I finally lost MTV. So I just am into reality TV, athletic-y, challenge-y, elimination-y things, okay? So I watch it, and I'm like, oh, this is a great show. Nothing sad or nefarious, no weird poor people exploitation. But Ryan, who watched Squid Games and not The Challenge, was like, yeah, isn't it kind of sick and gross at what they're doing? And I'm like, I didn't notice it, but I guess he's implying that they are exploiting really poor people. But then I'm like, isn't that every fucking reality show? I mean, you don't have to be poor to get on a reality show, but you have to be in some kind of search of something.
Insert mental illness blank. I mean, that's my girlfriend's guilty pleasure is reality TV.
Yeah.
And like from 2002 to like 2009, 2010, dude, some fucking wild reality TV shows exploiting every aspect of like what's wrong with being.
And I watched like every second of them.
It's I have trouble
like every season of The Real World. There's alcoholics, and they go through like like what happens if you drink 5 nights a week. Like, oh, this is what a human happens to a human when they drink 5 nights a week.
It is, but also I read an article.
Let's put a racist guy and a black guy in a room and have them drink 6 nights a week and just give them free alcohol. What could possibly happen?
Just turn the cameras on, baby.
Yeah.
But I guess like there were a bunch of accounts coming out about the people in the challenge version of Squid Games complaining about the treatment that they were given.
Oh, really?
As far as like food, housing. Like there were.
That's just entitlement to me,
right? That's what I kind of thought. There were like one lady said that it was extremely like arid and dry where they were filming because I think it was in the desert somewhere, and they like gave no chapstick, and so they had to
lick their lips.
Someone was using lubricated condoms to. I was that's pretty.
So they would give them condoms, but not chapstick. If you want them to fuck, give them some chapstick. Like,
no one's kissing each other.
Let's think about this.
Lips.
Maybe even some. What's the other stuff? Lip balm or the shiny stuff? Lip gloss, even. Sneak some lip gloss in.
But like, the moment where that one lady in the first red light, green light, she gets caught and she's squatting for some reason.
Yes,
she's just terrible at the game. Well, I guess like that whole part of that game took like 12 hours or something to complete.
Can you imagine how excruciating it must be? I mean, when we shoot little bits in here, ones that like where you have to plan it out, it's anxiety ridden. Can you imagine if there's millions of dollars on the line?
And there's strangers all a little bit off because you want them to be entertaining on camera. So none of them are like.
I take issue with that they're all mentally off, right? Like, I'm attracted. I want to go on The Amazing Race. I would go on Squid Game. That looks fun. How long were they there?
I think a lot of there's nothing.
To
wrong
me, that's the weird thing.
There's nothing wrong with wanting to be there, but you have to ask yourself: out of 100,000 people, they chose these 450. Is it because they're all the biggest and strongest? No, maybe a few of them. There's reasons everyone's picked, is what I'm saying.
Sure.
And there's maybe like 5% that are picked because like they're smart or they're attractive or like they think they're gonna win. I don't know.
I would much more want to look at like the dashboard of. How long were they there? Is it 3 weeks? Is it a month? Is it 10 days? And then what they all had to give up to do it. Because I bet some of them were like, gave up huge sacrifices. And some of them were like, I'm retired. This is nothing.
So that was the other thing. There were many allegations of them rigging the games.
Oh, really?
Of not like,
they wanted
not
certain people to win
it completely, but being able to like shuffle like, okay, we need 10 more people. And so like they'll...
Oh, kind of like we did.
Yeah, kind of, but more deliberate.
Because we had a holiday party and we had Squid Game. We did a Squid Game theme, and we plotted all the games. We didn't know how many people were going to get eliminated. And towards the end, we were like, "All right, we got to bring some people back to life so that we can play this game." So that makes sense to me.
But with that, like, if millions of dollars were on the line,
yeah, of course, I would be pissed. Yes, especially if I'm taking 3 weeks off or whatever it is of work or whatever, taking that hit on my life to go there in the hopes of winning $4.5 million. If it isn't fucking fair, yeah, I'm be angry. But also, not being the person who's being fucked over, like it's reality TV.
Yeah, you are the product.
Yeah, exactly. You being angry is the product. Opioid deaths up 938% in Kansas City since 2017.
Kansas City from 2017. Obviously,
they're including fentanyl, right?
Yeah,
so we're not.
fentanyl.
This isn't just Percocet. I got a back hurt, and I'm out on.
Yeah, so there's probably a lot of accidental ODs for sure of people having no idea what they're consuming, but that's a staggering amount.
Yeah,
especially in such a like Kansas City's big, but That's a noticeable amount in such a small.
I guess there's like, I think of when you say opioid related, I think of the painkillers, like the, what's the one that we've seen all the movies about, the Purdue Pharma.
Yeah, OxyContin.
Oxycontin. That's what I think of. And that, I feel like that's behind us. Like there aren't doctors now prescribing 500x of what you should be taking.
Yeah.
But this fentanyl thing now, isn't it mostly that at least the narrative that I'm consuming through whatever news I get is that it's mostly accidental overdoses. It's people doing other drugs, and fentanyl happens to be being snuck in there. And allegedly, like, through China's sending the fentanyl to Mexico and saying, hey, stir this shit up before you send it north or something.
That's the narrative I've been reading, is that the ingredients for fentanyl and fentanyl are being smuggled out of China into Mexico and then being redirected from there to the U.S.
Yeah.
And then, like people with, making fake Xanax, if you want it to be a little bit stronger, for, halves of pennies on, the kilo, you sprinkle a little bit of fentanyl in there. And like 1 out of 1,000 of those pills is going to have one extra little
So if you're
gram.
doing any pill-based shit or any powder-based shit, there's a chance that you got some fentanyl in your drugs.
Yeah, 100%.
Luckily, I only smoke weed, and like I don't think like that's not a thing.
Like,
Right? They're not like sprinkling fentanyl.
I know where my weed's coming from.
That's true. Me too.
But if I were in college, I think that would be like, there were a couple boys who like would test their stuff
For fentanyl?
or just would, like, if they would get like a cocaine drug test, and if they bought cocaine, they would put it in there and be like, okay, well, it didn't turn it purple like it's supposed to, so this isn't cocaine. Because they were responsible partiers. But I would definitely be scared.
It's shocking to me that to be that level of responsible is, I've got to think, in the minority.
Not in every, no, for
Extreme
sure.
minority.
For sure. But I think I would certainly do less drugs if I were in college right now.
Oh, my God.
I think I would be that scared for sure.
It is.
Even with how reckless and stupid.
Do you know
I was.
anybody who's run into a fentanyl accidental overdose or like anything like that?
I don't think any accident like that.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily like hang out with that many people who
Are into that.
anymore.
Totally.
Even a lot of my friends, everyone's kind of cooled off.
Yeah. There was a big crazy, I mean, it's probably still going on. I imagine this is affecting it. I would think, logically, there's a lot of people who are dropping dead because of fentanyl overdoses, accidental ones.
Yeah.
That would drive people away from it. Anyways, it's terrifying and scary. And I think the underlying problem is people are depressed and people are poor. And
that's bingo bango.
and it drives me nuts because it's like, all you hear about is like, because we listen to some of these esoteric business podcasts and they talk about stocks and NASDAQ and all that. And it's like, yeah, but for everyday Americans, inflation's not coming down. Like the cost of living is not coming down for everyday Americans. When something comes down, something else goes up.
It makes me mad because I listen to several podcasts that talk about the economy, and they all discuss
There are two obvious economies.
how confusing it is. Like, wow, we don't understand how, like the GDP and the NASDAQ keep growing, but, inflation still, but the economy sentiment is still so low. It's like, how do you not get it? It's because those numbers represent maybe 20, 30% of Americans.
Yeah.
And then the 70% of us who, like, that affects us 0% are struggling.
And another one that they look at too is housing and the housing market. Well, the price of housing's not gone, and the housing market's still hot. It's like it's hot because the fucking interest rates are at 7%, and no one can afford to sell their house and move.
Yeah.
So like prices are still high because there's no fucking inventory because half of us can't afford to move even if we want to.
Yeah, like no one's going to give up their 3% interest rate.
So we're
for a
prisoners in our
7%.
homes, and I'm like, I just moved. I'm happy. Like when you buy a house, like you're baking in 5 to 10 years before you think about selling the fucking thing.
Yeah.
So like we're not even itchy at all.
Yeah.
But like, if I was, man, am I getting frustrated that I have no freedom or mobility to sell. And like renting now is a nightmare. Like the prices are outrageous.
So I've asked like twice now. Every year I email if like we can sign up for a multi-year lease, just so like we can get a couple of years of rent on paper.
Like rent control.
Yeah. And like that's, from what I understand, and I've had a couple other people, like it's just 1 year 1-year leases.
No
For
one
all
will do
people.
more. They want it more fluid and dynamic.
Yeah, because no one. I mean, I sort of understand it. Like, can you imagine if you had somebody on a 5-year rent control 2 years ago?
Sure.
You'd be eating into a little bit of
You'd
your
be
pocket
going
right
back
now.
to uncontrol that rent for
Yeah.
sure.
So
Yeah, it's just wild. It seems obvious that we live in two different economies, and it's happening everywhere. Like our good friend Ray is an esthetician, and her business is slowing down, right? And it's like, if money's getting a little tight, what's something you're going to cut off? Fucking facials, maybe, right?
yeah,
2 pro rugby teams have folded. Well, that means 2 people who used to think that they had a lot of money, 2 groups of people, rich people who had a lot of money to spend on something as superfluous and silly as a professional rugby team no longer have it. So I guess that's a little bit different story. That doesn't really fit the narrative. But the end of the short of it is, if you don't have a lot of money, it's getting harder. If you do have a lot of money, apparently it's getting easier. I don't know that many people who are in that stratosphere.
yeah. Well, Caroline just took a yoga teacher class, so she's a certified yoga teacher now, and it wasn't cheap. Like, it was like $3,500, and it was evident that there were at least half of the women there who were just there because they really, really, really like yoga. Like, weren't
Right.
planning to flip that into like a
business.
and start, finding, places to start teaching classes or whatever. So like, that was strange to us that people could just decide that, like, I enjoy yoga so much.
I
that
want
I'm
this
gonna-
$3,500 certification.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that kind of speaks to that. There's definitely people, and like, we went to someone's house who, hosted kind of like a graduation party for all of the people who got the certification, and I don't know, it was interesting. We were by far the youngest people there. I'll guiltily admit that there were a couple stories that I told where my parents' friends were my friends.
Oh, nice.
So like, I wasn't talking about my parents in the reference of the story.
Yeah.
But it was weird, like, watching people who, they were all homeowners, all like pretty good jobs and
Yeah.
stuff. And yeah, it is kind of like two
It's
different
2 worlds, man. There's 2 fucking different worlds going on out there. And then we have a couple other things to talk about. Multiple owners of... So Carhartt, I just saw a picture of this, started putting in their tags, owner number 1, or first owned by, original owner, second owner, third owner. Because Carhartt's just fucking going insane right now.
Well, so what struck me first is this a new concept? Like, this seems like something...
I'm sure it's not the first person to do that. I mean, I remember Doc Martens back in the 90s. They had a lifetime guarantee, and you can like send them in and get them repaired and send them back. So like, there are other companies that have done shit.
Like, Aaron, the youngest brother in my family, like, 70% of his wardrobe was Aiden's, whose 70% of his wardrobe was mine.
Yeah, but I don't like...
So do you think it's more? Do you think that's more focused at the reseller market, or
Yes.
like, we think this garment will last you a lifetime?
I think you market what's cool, and you don't market, hey, look, you can... Your next kid can also wear it. Like, those commercials don't exist. And I think that now that Carhartt is trying to market it, suggests that it's just cool. Like, having a used Carhartt coat is now cooler than having a new Carhartt coat.
That's not cool. Like, I feel like they should market it like, this is sturdy enough that your son's son can have it.
Well, maybe that's where they're... maybe they're not marketing to their core audience anymore. They're marketing to their new audience.
It'd be weird
that's
if,
the
like,
problem. I don't know.
It's so cool that Kyle, Hank, and Steve can have it.
I did see a funny joke that's tangentially related to this, and it was about Boston sports fans. And the joke was like, yeah, but try and pronounce Carhartt. Like Carhartt, it makes your skin crawl. Just thinking about it. What do you think about Carhartt? Like, fucking Nick Wright's wearing Carhartt. Do you know who Nick Wright is?
I don't think
He's
so.
like on ESPN, or no, he's on Fox, FS1. He has his own show. He's very skinny looking, very, you wouldn't say ever looking athletic. You wouldn't say ever looked like he's seen a bale of hay or a work boot in his life. Fingernails have never been dirty. And if it has, it's been from newspaper ink. And he's now wearing Carhartt. So like, he's this local Kansas City kid who went huge in sports talk radio and is now huge on national television.
Okay.
So he's like a Skip Bayless type person.
Yeah, gotcha.
Him and Shannon Sharp have a show together.
Okay.
And now he's wearing Carhartt. And I'm like, you know how like Tommy Hilfiger probably didn't love it when like the Wu-Tang Clan was wearing Tommy. He's like, I made this for people who drive yachts and live in country clubs. This is not what I intended. And like Damon James from FUBU probably didn't love it like when all the suburban kids were wearing FUBU.
Yeah.
I've got to imagine this is like peak, like Nick Wright for the people who like actually are like wear Carhartt for work and use it. When they see him wearing it, they have to be like, all right, I'm done. I'm moving over to. I don't even know what the next Carhartt is.
I'm curious if you're a competing like working workwear company, like you have to be capitalizing on this. Like you should have a commercial with a bunch of skinny nerd like stylish kids like walking around in Carhartt.
Yeah,
and then like
that's a good idea.
And then like a man's man and whatever your brand is, and they just glance at him and then they look at the camera.
Maybe we should make that. Maybe we should make that.
Find a company and just free advertise.
We'll figure out what the second. Was it walls? Walls? At least for maybe like the bibs and overalls, we get some walls.
Yeah, some good. What's Key
coats? Key. They make good overalls.
See a lot of their overalls. Yeah.
Yeah. Taylor Swift is the Times Person of the Year.
Yeah.
And she comes to Kansas City a lot, so that's pretty dope.
Kansas City is the Times Person of the Year.
So when we were trying to put this whole relationship into context, it is now like I think over Beckham and like because was Beckham ever the Time Person of the Year? I don't know. I was Posh Spice. I'm thinking not.
Yeah, that's
the Time Person of the Year is usually like Barack Obama or like Elon Musk or Dwight Eisenhower. You know what I mean? It's not like.
I guess there's just a threshold of
the tight end
stadiums you can sell out to where you become more important than those people. And she probably greatly exceeded that threshold. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, she's pretty international, like selling out.
Big fan.
Yeah.
Chiefs and Royals might actually leave. That's becoming real since we last kind of tangentially talked about it.
Yeah, I've heard
Have you seen more of it?
I've heard this in other circles as well.
Okay, so here's the part that pisses me off the most is what it seems to be centered around is the 3/8 sales tax. There's one right now, and the stadiums want to extend it. The Chiefs want to extend the 3/8 sales tax they have with the county. I saw it where Frank White just says he doesn't think that the county's getting a very good deal on that 3/8 sales tax, and that's why he's not eager to extend it. And we're also going to have trouble passing any new tax because Jackson County like just knifed all of its residents for like a upwards of 70% increase in their assessments of the value of their homes.
Butchered.
So basically just a giant tax windfall for the county. Now, I don't know if the county needed all that money and like we have roads and bridges. I don't even know what the fuck the county's responsible for. Like, do they have bridges that were falling apart that they needed money for and so they had to gouge us for? I don't know. I have no clue. But when like there's so much bad will in the public sphere because you are gouging people by telling them their homes are now they owe 70% more on taxes on it now than they did the previous years. And then you're going to like drive a hard bargain that could make the Chiefs leave. Like, I just have a real problem with that. And Frank White had a really acrimonious relationship with the Kansas City Royals for a long time. Like, he's a Hall of Famer, but like wasn't allowed in the building, wasn't invited back, didn't go there for decades. And I don't know if that has any part in this, but like his flippancy of like we can lose the major league sports teams, I take umbrage with that, especially when he's showing greed on the housing side.
I'll say this. I went to a town hall where he spoke, and it was like when elections, whenever that was, last year, I think. And he seems, he makes things about him.
Yeah.
And so like I see like that's what this being, if he's going to be a part of the solution or the problem, it seems like he'd be more part of the problem.
I don't know how it works, but he is the executive. I mean, he's the mayor of Jackson County, right? He is the executive director or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
He's the top official in Jackson County. So, for all intents and purposes, even if he's not like, people can be mad about what goes on in City Hall and the mayor may have little or nothing to do with that work stream or how it happens, but he's the one who's going to take the arrows for it, right? Or the city manager, usually. People know how cities work. But the mayor, I think, is the one who takes all the name somebody else who works for Jackson County other than Frank White.
Yeah.
No one can. Yeah. So he's going to be the one who takes all the arrows. But it's interesting that you said he was pretty self-absorbed when you, at least that was your indication when you.
Yeah, well, that's
Sounds
because he's got a fair amount of haters. Like it seems like you mentioned, especially from the Royals. I didn't.
Yeah, him and the Royals had like a not good relationship for a long time because he was like a coach, and I guess he didn't get promoted. Maybe I would have to I read about it, but I'm speaking a little bit out of my ass. But yeah, they had an acrimonious relationship. But long and short of it, I don't give a fuck if the Royals leave. If the Chiefs leave, I think that's massive. Right? We are about to have a World Cup come in 2026. That never happens again in Kansas City, Missouri if the Chiefs lose.
Yeah.
Nothing like of that significance comes here. Taylor Swift doesn't have concerts in Kansas City, Missouri if the Chiefs leave. So it's not just the Chiefs leaving. It is every fucking concert that goes there. It's every event that goes there, every marathon that happens there.
It's like you see all of these different hypothetical plans. Like this is what it would look like here. This is what it would look like here. Like if I were Jackson County, the stadiums just gave us like a divorce papers,
right?
And we should just be like, "Oh, baby, hold on, I'm so sorry."
Right?
Like, why don't you? I know they're gonna give you a new dress, but like maybe we can go out shopping. We'll get you a new dress. You know? Like, well, I don't understand why that isn't part of our plan.
All that money you just gouged us for. Let's maybe get behind us being okay with the 3/8 cent sales tax, Frank. You know what I mean? Like.
If Jackson, if that place, yeah,
we are business owners here in downtown Raytown, and if you take the Chiefs out of here, out of this place, like it's a huge fucking sale, like wind out of the sails.
Yeah, from just an objective standpoint, what is going to happen to that space? No one's going to be throwing. If no one's throwing money in that area now to redevelop it, you take the stadiums out of there. What the fuck is the allure of developing?
It's tens of millions just to knock Kaufman down.
Yeah, now I'm getting worked up.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like I agree that billionaires should generally pay their fucking bill, and if we have to go through extreme expense just to be able to sell alcohol here as business owners, the Chiefs should, if Gnarly Hustle made obscene amounts of profit, we wouldn't go to the city and demand that they fix our building. We would just buy it and fix it ourselves.
Yeah,
and I get that argument for sports team owners, but it's just reduce it to that is way too binary and doesn't equate what the rest of the impact of the city at all.
I'd be curious what the relationship the Cardinals have with the city of St. Louis. That's the reason why it feels like we're losing out on tax incentives is because there's no other money generation around those stadiums that could be fueling Jackson County.
Yeah.
There should be more things that people could be buying, food, sportswear, drinks in that area that would be making up for that 3/8, whatever we're losing.
Yeah.
Someone should do the math and figure that out and be like, we need this many bars here. We'll make our money back.
Also, the city gives away tax abatements for all sorts of businesses. It's not just professional sports teams. So, if we're going to say professional sports teams should pay for their own fucking buildings, well, then no more tax abatements for any other businesses. For Cerner, for giant corporations that are building developments. We as taxpayers, I want football more than I want more office buildings.
Yeah.
So, unless I get to say no fucking free tax incentives for all these other corporations that we're talking about, because they happen all the time.
Yeah.
Right? And they don't all give us Patrick fucking Mahomes,
Yeah, I love you, Patty.
Anyways, how's it going? Consignment and Ring of Fire. We are going to, Ring of Fire, just the concept. Let's talk about it briefly. We started reselling clothes, and we thought we were vintage, and we kind of
advertised
as such, and then realized we're not really vintage because we don't sell the high-end shit that people do, and we don't want to sell super expensive shit.
Yeah.
We got into it largely because we like affordable clothes at cheap prices, and you can still find really good shit. And so our model was never buy something for 10, charge 45 for it. It was buy something for pennies and charge $6 to $8 for it.
Yeah.
And that's the lane that we ended up going to, and we have since transferred to throwback thrift. But we still get a lot of vintagey items that you could sell for 35, 40, 50, 70, $80.
Totally, 100%.
And we get those customers in here. And sometimes they come in and they're disappointed because we don't have enough of what they're looking for. They're expecting a reset where everything's a $35 banger instead of a thrift store where you may have to look and there's 40 of those in the store.
Yeah.
So now we're looking at the Ring of Fire was always like, can we just basically create a section that is all badass, that is all high end.
Yeah, a bit more bespoke.
And now we're going to lean into that because we've gotten more and more, the longer we've been open, people coming in wanting to sell us stuff. And there seems to be a steady flow enough of people willing to sell us stuff or consign that it makes sense that we could actually maintain a section of that quality.
Yeah. So we're more kind of, I guess, like bifurcating what's on the racks a little bit more to where you're going to find, bangers will still be on hangers throughout the store.
Yeah.
You're still going to find dope polos for $8, $10, $12. But then, there might be that 1 in 1,000 polo that's on another rack that's still not overpriced, just closer to market. That might be like $20.
Yeah. I'd like to, like Dwayne, our buddy, was, after the Christmas party, he came to pick up his car the next morning, because he got home responsibly. And he saw a couple of customers walk out and overheard them talking in the parking lot. And they were just talking about how great the prices were. And they love the store. And people love it for different reasons when they do love it. But one of their big ones is, man, everybody's prices are crazy. And these people are pretty fucking reasonable. We're not going to lose that. We're still going to be a thrift store. We're still going to be affordable. Our prices, we're not going through a price hike. That's not what we're discussing here. But we are going to ring fence the really high-end stuff and start resourcing it, and that stuff will be priced at a more market rate. So there will be an expensive section that will be small and curated, and then everything else will still be curated high-end quality thrift that is at our normal affordable price.
Yeah, and you should still, whenever you pick up a piece and you look at the tag, still think that you're getting value for whatever you're going to be spending your money on.
Totally.
Yeah, I like, in kind of just like opening the doors a little bit, like from a business point of view, like we're always trying to identify, like how to make more money,
right?
Because we're a business, and so like this is a good way for us to not necessarily like change our business model or increase inventory a certain way, or even spend more money, but kind of make a little bit more money from the inventory we already have. It's like I don't know. It's weird talking about this to you because it sounds like I'm making more money.
Well, like, just as an example, so we get in a jacket that's like, you look at it, it's like, it's got this weird carrot embroidered on it, and it's like this really cool old Levi's jacket, and then you look at it like, holy fuck, these are going for $150 on eBay.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, we're not going to sell it for $150 in the store. We're not even going to sell it for $80 in the store. But that would be a steal in a lot of other stores. Like, it would just look like a fucking turd in a punch bowl if we put a giant tag on it. So we probably sold it for $30.
Yeah.
And like, we could go through the time to spend it on, sell it on eBay or Poshmark, but we really don't like doing that.
Hate it.
So we didn't really have a place where it made sense for that 1 in 100 item to be where we could get more money out of it. So yeah, we're going to milk a little bit more money out of our inventory. But what I like also is, somebody brings in a $35 t-shirt. Our cut on that's going to be $7, right? That we'll take home, right? And profit. We go shopping and spend hours, and then 80 cents on something will sell for $7. Now someone's bringing something to us that we can make $7 on that reaches and appeases other people that I know we get through our door that we don't always hit. And we had to do less work and less bandwidth. That's what fucking excites me, is that overall we could have better inventory in the store, still make the same amount of profit, and be spending way less time.
And just redirect the time to things to give you more value.
Exactly. So like, the store's not changing. It's an additive, but I'm very excited about the additive. But I think we're both insecure about it too, which is why we're spending so much time explaining it.
I'm super confident. I know that everything on there, like, I guess it's all from my like eyes of like, I'll spend like 30, 40, sometimes even
the right
if it's
piece.
a nice piece. Yeah, $50 on a piece.
Yeah.
But I also really fucking enjoy throwing together an outfit for $30 head to toe.
Yeah.
And so like, you'll be able to do both of those here and not feel like you're being put out or like we're taking advantage of you.
And we're also really strong